Successful people can see successful actions. They can see it. Look back and see the progress you make. Because if we can't see progress in the past, how are we going to see it in the present? That's a really good awareness there. It's like, wow, if I can't see the progress I'm making right now in this moment, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this, or nothing's working, or I don't know if this is going to work. It's like, you can't see progress in the moment. So we got to practice looking back over yesterday or the last couple of days or the last 7 days and seeing it and then claiming it, where we're making progress, what we're doing right, conditions our mind so that we can be the kind of people who can see success. And then with that type of ability, we can see opportunity. How would you ever see opportunity if you've never even looked and counted success? You know what I mean? Because opportunity creates those moments. But we talked some of about last week, but I just review again how important it is to count what happened yesterday. Look for what's good. What happened over the last 7 days? So get in the chat box, share with me, what progress did you make in the last 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, but count it. And when you go to claim it, if you happen to hear a little bit of mind chatter that tries to discount that, you might have a devil sitting on your shoulder who's just like trying to like smash you. And that's not cool. It's just like, what? I know I say devil on the shoulder and it's like, oh, Kirk, that's so funny. But it's like, you might want to think about that. Or, or who is that's smashing your credibility? Because every time you do something well, that builds your credibility. I know people who have all kinds of certificates on the wall and they still feel like they don't have credibility. I remember I was coaching this he called himself he was a doctor, but I can't remember all the things that he's in, but he was sitting at his desk. I'm coaching him, and behind him, he had like 9 huge certificates on the wall. And he literally was saying to me, he goes, man, I feel like I don't have enough credibility. And I'm looking at him going, you should look behind you. But all those certificates didn't give him the credibility on the inside because he was discounting his progress. He was discounting what he was doing. So no matter what graduation thing or whatever class you've taken, whatever education you have, when we as individuals discount ourselves, we literally drop our stock value, if that's even something, but we drop our value and we're the ones who did it to us. So if that's true, if I can lower my value, then I also can raise my value. So if I have the power to crush me, I also have the power to build me. And so that's what I love about that. And that's what I've done over the last 17 years is I've been the one in charge of my value. I'm the one in charge. I have to be the one in charge. If I give that assignment to somebody else, they might be busy and not build my value for me. It's like, what? Whoa, why would I give that assignment to somebody else that they're in charge of my value? That just doesn't seem like you're going to move as fast as you want to go, right? So if we consider the fact that we can discount ourselves and we can literally crush ourselves and shut ourselves down with all the talk and the mind chatter and all the feelings that we can just literally just put ourselves down, or we get in here and we take charge of counting what we did yesterday. Take an accounting of what you did well, even if it's small. Have you guys ever heard my experience of stacking spoons? Have you ever heard that? I was standing in the kitchen, this is years ago, and I was having a bummer day, like a super bummer day. And I was like all down and just bummed out because nothing was working. I was having a pity party in the kitchen. And I was standing there and I was wondering, how can I better myself? And I heard this small voice, this soft, small voice speak to me. And it said, open up the drawer of silverware and stack the spoons. And when you're done, say that was a great project. and I completed it. That was great what I did, and I completed it. It was great, and I completed it. I thought it was the goofiest thing in the world. But I stood there, kept having my pity party, and the small, gentle voice came back to me and said, open up the drawer, stack the spoons, count it as great, and count it as finished. And the voice said, those two things are very important. It's great, and it's finished. So I opened up the drawer, I stacked all the big spoons, I stacked all the small spoons, and I said to myself, that was great, I did great, and I finished it. And I stood there for a moment, and I felt an energetic upshift. And I felt that, this small little upshift. It was like somebody opening the door and this cool breeze coming in from the front door. And it just like this cool breeze just went over my body. And I just stood there and I was like, what was that? And the small voice said to me, that is credit. And credit builds credibility. You have to give yourself credit to build your credibility. And I just stood there, and I know it sounds wild, but I started crying because it was so big for me to go, I'm in charge of this. I could do this. And then I shut the drawer and all the spoons fell over. I heard them fall over and it was all messed up. But it was still the fact that I did it and I finished it. I did it and I finished it, and I gave myself credit, and I had this energy upshift, and I know it's real, and I know it's true because I felt it, and I had a personal experience standing in my kitchen. And I know people who literally discredit themselves, and then they complain that they don't have credibility. And they go seeking some kind of certificate for credibility. They go seeking some kind of education for credibility. And it's like credibility leads to confidence. I mean, we got to think about that. Where does my confidence come from? It's because I feel like I have credibility. And where does credibility come from? It comes from what I give credit to about my abilities and who I am and what I did and what I finished. And so it's like, wait a minute, I got to count this stuff up. I got to keep track of this. I got to notice these things and give myself credit to build my credibility. When my credibility build my confidence, and then my confidence will put me in front of people. And then putting myself in front of people builds a business. And then when I have a business, I can do this full time. And when I do this full time, I can change people's lives. And when I change people's lives, then families are happier. And when families are happier, kids are happier. And when families and kids are happier, they got a strong family. And it comes from the fact of me giving myself credit. So get in your head and be in charge of the credit giving department. Because if you're not in there taking charge, you might have to fire that little worker in your head that's been just discrediting you all the time. It's like, you got a bad attitude. You're fired. Get him out of there. Get her or him out of there and put in a new mind employee who can take care of the giving yourself credit.